Gentleman from Arlington, Mr. Lopez.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Speaking of the bill.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. As the national conversation about immigration becomes more heated, I thought I'd give folks a little bit of history about my father. My dad was one of 22 brothers and sisters from the same parents. Yeah, 22. My grandmother had her first child when she was 14, her last child when she was 44 years old in the Andes Mountains of Venezuela, 5 kilometers from the Colombian border. Not much to do on a Saturday night in Venezuela in the 1920s. My dad didn't want to be a farmer, and he had a dream of a better life. And he saved $270 in 1950s money to come to the United States. He got a tourist visa, and he came to D.C. And he worked as a busboy at the Madison Hotel. He worked as a waiter at the Mayflower Hotel. He learned English. He graduated from Northern Virginia Community College when I was 5 years old, and then took one class a semester every year at George Mason University while working 2 or 3 jobs until he graduated from college 1 month before I graduated from high school. Little thing people don't know about my dad is he was undocumented. He actually overstayed his tourist visa by 3 months. So he was actually an undocumented American or undocumented individual. And he decided, I'll go get a green card. Well, in the 1950s, guess how many days that took him to get? 5 days, including a weekend, to get a green card. Today it takes around 7.5 years, 13 years if you're lucky. We have a broken federal immigration system. HB 2000 takes us in the wrong direction. This is simply a message bill at its best now. Why? Because there is no clear definition of sanctuary cities, nor does Virginia have any sanctuary cities. By itself, this bill ignores the complicated nature of federal immigration law and could require localities to choose between complying with an ICE detainer or unlawfully detaining someone past their release date. This would make it very difficult for Virginia's cities and counties to adopt common sense policies that build trust between police departments, public schools, and immigrant communities. In effect, this legislation makes our communities less safe by stoking irrational fears of immigrants and undermining the community-police relations that are essential for true police safety. A recent University of Illinois study found that 45% of immigrants, documented and undocumented, were less likely to report a crime as a result of increased involvement of local police and immigration enforcement. These arguments could lead immigrants to avoid police contact for fear that their contact might lead to deportation of a loved one. Not only will immigrants be afraid to report crimes as witnesses or victims or cooperate with police or prosecutors in helping to solve crimes, their fear of doing so will make them easy targets for crime. Immigrant women, for example, are already twice as likely to be targeted for domestic and sexual violence. It is critical that they be able to call 911 safely to stop ongoing violence and access protection. Here's the thing. Virginia is one of 2 states already that automatically checks the immigration status of anyone arrested or charged with a crime. Also, our local and regional jails are required to turn people over to ICE prior to their scheduled release date if there is a valid detainer request. As of 2014, DHS implemented the Priority Enforcement Program that works with local law enforcement to notify ICE before the scheduled release of an immigrant with violent and serious crime convictions. Virginia also requires status checks for everyone arrested and presumption against bail if there is a detainer placed on an immigrant accused of violent crimes. Coupled with the federal practice of running all arrestee fingerprints through the immigration database, Virginia law ensures that ICE has notice and plenty of opportunity to initiate removal proceedings immediately and before the person is released from the state or federal custody. The exhaustive combination of existing state mandate make the existence of sanctuary localities a legal impossibility in the Commonwealth. The burden of federal enforcement agencies should not be placed on local jurisdictions either. Forcing local jurisdictions to act as a substitute for federal agents will place additional and undue costs and demands on resources on localities. ICE usually does not reimburse localities for holding individuals past when they would otherwise be released. Ultimately, this bill is unnecessary. costly to localities, and could make us less safe by undermining local law enforcement. Let's be clear. This bill is dog whistle politics at its best, created to stoke fear of the other and the idea that those who are different, immigrants and new Americans, well, you're unwelcome. Folks, we all know that there are no sanctuary cities in Virginia. We also know that this legislation is an ugly attempt to demonize and scapegoat immigrants for political gain. We should be focusing on issues that matter to working families: good jobs, quality public schools, affordable health care, affordable housing, and environmental protection. This kind of legislation that doesn't create one job, doesn't educate one child, is wrong-headed. It's ugly. It will drain money from our localities and send the worst kind of message about Virginia. Please vote no.